All right, on the phone right now, we have PBR Pendleton Whiskey Velocity Tour Pro Bull Rider Marcus Mast. And Marcus, thanks for taking the time with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on board.
Yeah, you've been doing this for well over a decade at this point, right?
Yeah, it's been 12, 13 years, I believe. I try not to count the years. Makes me feel a little older.
You just count the broken bones, right?
I try not to count those either.
Well,
I wish I'd keep it low enough I can keep count of them. But
yeah, of course. Nobody wants to get hurt, of course. But I'd like to start out by asking you about something. This is an amazing story to me. So, was it 3 years ago a bull stepped on your neck and tore open your throat?
2 years ago, but yeah, it was a kind of a freak accident, kind of a freaky hang up, I guess. I got my hand stuck in the rope, couldn't get it out, and my rope kind of started sliding down over the side of the bull's back, and I went from being beside him to being underneath him, just dragging along, and couldn't do nothing. And he finally ended up stepping on it, kind of right below my ear, right at my jawline, and caught me right there and ripped my throat open. And that's what ended up finally getting me out. So there was a good thing and a bad thing all at the same part when he stepped on me.
Oh my God! You were you didn't take long to recover. That sounds like a career-ending injury to me. But then again, I've only been on a horse once, so that's coming from me. So you recovered pretty quickly from that, and then shortly after that, you broke your back?
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, the throat injury, the amazing part about it was fractions of an inch from being life or death. I mean, it almost hit my main artery, but luckily the good Lord spared me and gave me another shot. But then the rest of it was just basically just healing that cut up. So by about 2 weeks, it had pretty much healed shut, but I knew the inside and whatnot was healed just overly great yet. So I gave it another 2 weeks before I got back on a bull, just so I knew it was healed good. And then I was back for a month. So I took a month off from that, and then I was back to riding again for a month, and had a bad landing from a buck off, and broke my L1, which is basically your tailbone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's unbelievable. That, to me, that's terrifying. But you've been around livestock, and you've been doing this for a long time. But that's just horrifying for me. Or is this just par for the course for pro bull riders? I mean, is the neck thing that you said that was a freak accident? But I would imagine spinal injuries are a common thing.
Yeah. So, it is really just, it's part of the sport. It's the way we look at it. We all know we're going to get hurt. We just don't know when, and we don't know how bad it's going to be. So, this was just basically another one of them things. It was, you get hurt, and if you keep going, you keep going. And that was the big thing, with the back was, a lot of people, they break their back, their career's done. If they take another bad landing, it could paralyze them if they're not paralyzed already. So, I felt like I was blessed to be able to. There was no threat of me being paralyzed. The break I had, and there wasn't going to be no threat for me to keep riding and having a bad landing and having that spot paralyzed.
That's amazing that you're still riding. That's just amazing to me. I always thought hockey was the most dangerous sport, but after reading your story, man, that's something, man. I also want to ask you, so I was reading your bio. You grew up on an Amish farm, and that's how you first got exposed to livestock and appreciating that. Are you Amish? Or did you just work there? I
used to be an Amish kid, but I am not Amish no more.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of people that give me a hard time for being Amish, but I tell them that I'm not Amish anymore. I used to be. and that is part of who I am. But that's in the past. I'm no longer Amish.
Right. So was that Rumspringa? Was that had to do with it that you chose to leave and pursue this?
Well, that's basically I left to go do the Rumspringa, and a buddy of mine rode bulls and went to rodeos and bull rides basically every weekend. So as soon as I turned 16, like I knew this was something that I would enjoy, going and watching this. So I started going with him to the events, and I'd watch and hang out. And a couple of weeks went by, and I was like, I'd really like to kind of try this. And he kind of laughed it off. And about a week later, I told him again. I was like, no, seriously, I'd want to try it. And he's like, okay, I'll take you to a practice pen, and you can try it.
Did you have to hide that from your community?
They would have probably preferred if I would have hit it, but I didn't really care because, as soon as I'd done it the first time, I was hooked, and I was all in. I wanted to do it. And on the way home, this guy asked me, he's like, so what do you think? I said, I love it. He was like, I'm not going to lie, I was actually surprised he actually got on that. A lot of people will chicken out their first time, when they're that age and getting on an actual bull. And, nowadays they got the calves, they got the mutton busting, and they got the steers, and kind of kids work their way up. So they're used to it, from the ages of 4 or 5 years old. But me, I was 16. So, but I grew up riding horses my whole life, and like you said, grew up on an Amish dairy farm, so I was around cattle my whole life.
Yeah. Do you keep in touch with any of those the people from the community? Do you know what they think about you now or anything like that?
Yeah, I still, my whole family's still Amish, and I still talk with them all the time, and me and my oldest brother are actually pretty close. So
oh, good.
It's one of them things, basically when you become a member and then you leave is when they shun you. And there's some communities that would, in my situation, they would shun you as well. But the community where I grew up, they're a little more lenient, I guess, a little more understanding.
Yeah.
So to speak. And I never became a member of the Amish church. So I guess according to them, what I did isn't as bad as how some people do.
Right. And 12 years later, here we are, man.
Yeah.
You're coming to Worcester this weekend at the DCU Center. And I have a question about the Bulls, who are also stars of the show, and in fact may get pampered more than the Cowboys do. Is that fair to say?
Oh, definitely. That's an easy answer to that one is yes, they do get pampered more than we do.
How long before you ride do you know which bull you're riding?
So we found out last night. We got sent the draw for the first day, which would be Saturday. And then the Sunday perf, we won't know which bull we'll have that day until Saturday about midnight after that first round is over.
Okay. All right.
So then they'll redo the draw, and you'll see what you have for the next day.
And do you, I know they all have their own distinct personalities. Do you I'm guessing you study film, right? Just like any other sport.
Yeah, I normally do. It varies from people to people. Some people don't like to know what the bull is going to do, what it looks like, or any of that until right before showtime. They'll go and look at them and be like, oh, okay, so this is the bull I got. And they don't want to know nothing about kind of what his pattern is for the most part.
Right.
But there's a lot of bulls that I know pretty good. So if I don't know the bull, I'm probably going to go see if I can pull up some videos of him. And for the most part, they're still creatures of habit. So for the most part, they kind of have kind of the same thing that they do from one trip to the next, but some of them will do something different every time. So, and I just like to kind of get an idea. He turns back to the left every time. Mm-hmm. And then, this video, he turned back to the left. That video, he turned back to the right. Just so I'm a little bit prepared, he's probably going to do this, or there's a chance he could do this, or there's a chance he could do that, or whatever. So I do prefer to watch videos of them if I can find some.
Right. So is it safe to say someone who's been doing it like you for 12 years, and I don't know what the career length of a career for a bull is, but if you ride them over time, do you develop, I guess relationship is the word, like you kind of get to know them, they maybe know you? Is that something that's possible? And then when you get on, they're kind of doing the same thing. It's like, oh, it's this guy again. I know what he's going to do, and you're thinking the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know as far as them knowing basically who we are and making a relationship with us, but as far as us with them, we for sure. I mean, there's bulls that we've rode, that have a sentimental place in our heart, and there's a couple of them, you've rode a couple times and maybe won rounds or won events on them or whatever it may be, that they have that special place in your heart. There's some bull riders that would basically tell a contractor, when you retire this bull, I'm going to buy him. You're going to sell him to me because this is, I mean, he might have rode him, 5-6 times, from over the span of his career and won a pile of money on him. So a lot of them the stock contractors, these bull owners, that they understand this and they'll sell them to you pretty quick. So
kind of like moving in with your adversary. After a while, you're like, all right, well, you help me make all this money. Why don't we can live together and, carry
yeah, exactly. There's actually, so, I mean, like the one instance that I know personally that I can think of right off the top of my bat is, and I'm sure you heard, and I'm sure everybody that's listening's heard of J.B. Mooney. One of the greatest bull riders to ever walk the earth. He broke his neck just a couple weeks after my accident. And so when he hit the ground standing on his head, and that's not a great way to hit the ground. And actually flip-flopped his C5 and his C6.
Oh.
So his C6 was where his C5 was supposed to be, and his C5 was where his C6 was supposed to be. So, needless to say, that it did end his career. And that's one of the things I'm thankful for is that that's not what happened to me, and I was still able to continue. Like him, there wasn't no way he was going to be able to continue riding.
Damn.
So this bull that bucked him off and ended his career. He bought this bull and he's in the pasture with him and scratch on him and love on him. And it's just a big old puppy dog for him. So stories like that are always pretty cool. The bull, it did end his career, but he did something that no other bull was able to get done. And there's still a little special bonding there, even though it, a lot of people look at it as it was a bad thing that happened, so why would you want to own this bull? But it still has a special place in his heart, so.
Respect, yeah.
Yeah. That's basically what it is,
Yeah.
Respect for the animal athletes, they love this sport just as much as we do, and they deserve a lot more of it than we do as far as the care that they get. We don't want them to get hurt, and all the special treatment they can get, the better.
Marcus, your story is really amazing. I'm glad we're talking. I'm glad you're still doing it, and we're looking forward to seeing you this weekend in Worcester, Massachusetts, the DCU Center here, both Saturday and Sunday. Marcus, good luck, man, and thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate it as well. Thank you, sir.